This is the audiobook for Retrograde Motion, SCP-X Reader, written by Nico Inukit, read by me, the real President Donald J. Trump. Chapter 1. Abnormal. Your day has been ruined. Your eyes opened before you swiftly shut them. Nope, this was not happening today. The ceiling that was definitely not your ceiling mockingly stared back at you as you reopened your eyes. An alarm blared in the background and the tiles were cold beneath your body. Begrudgingly, you sighed and pulled yourself up. Your day had been ruined. Now, where were you? The walls were boringly gray and the lights seemed to have been destroyed. The air smelled like chemicals. 2 papers were beside you on the floor. Picking both of them up, you skimmed through the contents of both. Dread filled you as you read the 3 big letters at the top of the first page. SCP. This was bullshit. You scowled, dropping the pages. This was too real to be a prank. And after pinching yourself, you confirmed it wasn't a super elaborate dream either. That D-class orientation leaflet wasn't yours clearly, and the other one wasn't important. Doing a quick scan of yourself, you were relieved to find you were still wearing your regular clothes and not the terribly bright orange of the D-class uniform. So this was what you assumed to be SCP containment breach. That sucked, and you were most likely going to die. Life had certainly outdone itself this time, oh boy. An alternate dimension and the likelihood of dying? How fun! You were sure you had just speed run through the stages of grief in the last minute. So how was this going to work? Should you just sit still and wait for MTF? Try to escape? There certainly weren't any good options for you. The alarm continued to sound and you could hear people shouting. You didn't really feel like sitting around, so with your mindset, you might as well go around and explore the place and maybe one of the endings will trigger. Gate A seemed like the best choice. You stood up, stretched your limbs out before heading through the broken door. You passed the next room, not bothering to glance at the monitor, and went down the stairs to the right. Peanut was already gone, thankfully, so you safely managed to go through the room and head to the left door. You pressed the red button and walked through the door, remembering to close it behind you. Wouldn't want Peanut sneaking up on you now. In front of you laid 2 paths. You went right, blinking before you went through the door. No one so far. Good. The room was only a long, empty hall, so you continued to the only door in the vicinity. It was already open. You glanced to the left, where you found SCP-9114's room. Making a mental note of where it was, you continued forward. You still needed a key card before you could go upgrade things. There was one more narrow hallway that had the small testing room you went through before opening the door. Oh dear, you muttered, seeing SCP-173 standing in the corner just behind the door. It was incredibly strange seeing it in person. It was just the slightest bit taller than you, and you could see the rough texture of the concrete. Making a quick decision, you went to the room across while keeping an eye on the SCP. A body fell from the ceiling of the room. You guessed it was from 106's pocket dimension. Your eyes watered as you blindly grasped for the button. You hit the button and walked through the door, sighing in relief as you shut the door, leaving Peanut in there. Never want to do that again, you mumbled. And that body really could have just not. Thankfully, the room you arrived in was one that you actually needed. It was the storeroom. You faintly hear the voice line of, "I think the shortest way out is through the southeast wing. Follow me." Then a loud roar along with the ground shaking. The lights flickered before going out for a few brief seconds. There was the telltale sound of necks snapping before the lights turned on again. Damn teleporting peanuts. You shook your head as the door to your right opened up, revealing 173. Quickly, you shut the door. From the shelf, you grabbed the gas mask and level 1 key card. You shoved them into your jacket's pockets. Thank goodness for pockets, you might actually be able to fit 8 items in them. There were also a couple of documents. You knew they weren't important, but you skimmed over them before leaving. With everything you needed, you went back to the room you had come out of knowing Peanut wasn't there anymore. Now, you needed to go back to the small testing room to grab the SNAV and level 2 key card. 173 would, of course, be there, but you weren't too concerned. So long as you didn't blink it there, it should be fine. The corpse in the center of the room was looking as fresh as ever, and very much so dead. The scent of rotting corpses lingered in the air. You checked the other door that didn't lead to the small testing room and found there was a Tesla gate there. Well, you didn't need to go that way yet. You hummed quietly to yourself as you went to the room, inserting the level 1 key card and opening the left door. As expected, 173 was there, so you quickly grabbed the SNAV off the cabinet and the level 2 keycard from the desk before retreating. You closed the door behind you, starting to head back to where you had seen 904's room earlier. It wasn't long before you arrived. You inserted the key card and the blast door opened up, revealing the anomalous machine. You closed the door behind you just in case any SCPs tried to get in. Off the shelf, you took the med kit, intending to upgrade it as well. There was also a document about 914 on the shelf, which consisted of a testing log. At the bottom of the paper was a handwritten note signed by Dr. Harp. It was just a reminder to not put organic material into the SCP, though you were curious about what the spider steel wine incident was. You left it on the shelf, not needing it. In the input area, you dropped in the level 2 key card, the gas mask, and the med kit. You turned the dial to fine and twisted the knob. A faint rumbling noise could be heard as 914 upgraded the items and the output door opened up. You picked up the now upgraded level 3 key card, super gas mask, and small med kit, which for whatever bizarre reason contained more things in it than the regular med kit. You went back and dropped in the SNAV, repeating the process, this time with the dial on very fine. You got the SNAV Ultimate. Now you were ready to move on. You left the level 1 key card in the room before you left, not requiring it anymore. Rip to whoever's key cards those were, you said under your breath. You exited 914's room and went right. You went straight ahead, wandering around for not long before you found the surveillance room. You considered yourself lucky that you didn't need to go down the 939 tunnels to get here. A piercing scream echoed throughout the facility, which you ignored. You swiped the key card and the door opened up. You walked up the stairs, skipping every other step for the fun of it, and speedily weaved through the pillars. Scanning the key card to open the door within the room, you looked over the screens displaying the various areas of the facility before going to the levers. You pulled the lever for the light containment zone lockdown from on to off. Now you should be able to get to the heavy containment zone. You stepped out of the surveillance booth and waited. 049 should be here right about... Hello? There he was. He looked as you expected, tall, too tall in your opinion, dressed in black with a mask over his face, that is, if he had one in the first place. You could see his blue eyes, and you cursed the universe for making other people so pretty. This was clearly favoritism. His arm was reached out, likely attempting to reach you to cure you. Hey, you said, looping him around before sprinting down the stairs. 049 made no attempt to run to catch up. You got to the bottom of the stairs and quickly closed the door with the key card. Sighing in the relief, you ran a hand through your hair. That encounter was thankfully over now. You continued to go through the facility, picking up SCP-1499 in case you ran into 106. Light Containment Zone was surprisingly easier to navigate than you had expected with the SNAV. Soon enough, you were there, standing in front of one of the lockdown checkpoints. Looking through the window you found on the other side was 008's containment room. You eyed the puddle of blood on the floor. Should you or should you not try to contain 008? You were pretty sure you needed to in order to get to the entrance zone, but oh well, if you got infected, that would be a problem for the future you. You inserted the key, and with a beep, the door opened up. You entered the room and found that the walls were mostly white, with a sign right in front informing about 008, Object Class, Euclid. You went into the room to the right where the hazmat suit was. Putting the suit on, you heard a beep indicating the doors to the checkpoint were closing. You triple-checked that you put the hazmat suit on properly and blinked before entering the chamber. You kept an eye on 173, who was on the other side of the glass while shutting 008's canister. Backing out of the room quickly, you hurriedly pushed the button to close the door. You took off the suit, leaving it where you found it, and started to leave to find the other checkpoints that could lead to the rest of heavy containment. You stopped before sliding the key card. 049 was on the other side of the door. I hear you breathing. Creepy, but you could figure out which of the doors he was in front of. His footsteps were also quite loud. You slid the key card and backed up as the door opened. 049 went through the left door and you ran through the right one as he said, I'm not trying to harm you. The doors closed just in time. I appreciate the thought, Doc, but I'm afraid I'm all right at the moment, you stated, unsure if the SCP could hear you. You checked the SNAV, attempting to navigate to the other checkpoints. You passed an elevator that you didn't need to go down and a couple of other rooms. It was surprising you hadn't run into any other SCPs that weren't in the original game yet. The facility was most definitely larger than the original game, but you weren't straying too far from where you needed to go. It was likely that other SCPs had been evacuated because of the containment breach, especially the humanoid ones. You eventually came across the checkpoint and checked the monitor to make sure that lockdown was not active. You slid the key card in and walked through the doors. The first room was the gas catwalk. It was likely that 173 would be there, so you closed the door first. You put on the gas mask that you had been keeping in your pocket. You found that it was indeed much easier to breathe with it on. You guessed it was the effect of having upgraded it in 914 on Fine. I feel like I could run so much with this on, you said to yourself. You opened the door and began to walk on the metal catwalk. You could hear the hiss of the decontamination gas and your own dull footsteps echoing on the metal-grated floor. On the short end of the catwalk, 173 wasn't there, so you went to the next room. The next area was the same type of room. You ran across the catwalk with an absent thought that things were going very well. You paused as you saw 173 at the end of this catwalk. Your eyes watered, and then you did the unthinkable. You accidentally blinked. Before you could even scream, you felt a searing pain across your body as your neck was snapped with an audible crack. Your body fell to the ground, limply. In your fading moments, you could see 173 standing above you. Then the world faded to black.